Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here, back with another detailed weather forecast. In today's detailed weather discussion, we'll bring you the very latest update on the big snowstorm for the Northeast. And then we gotta look at the Midwest for a potential significant life-threatening winter storm by Sunday into Monday. So this is a look at the latest HRRR model for 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time over Pennsylvania and New York, and we can clearly get an idea where the snow is gonna start falling first with some rainfall. But it's really the overnight hours when that rain is really going to pick up, especially the snow across northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, where you could be seeing snowfall rates on the order of 1 to 3 inches per hour. But down here across New Jersey, if you are Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, as well as Virginia, you're looking at moderate to heavy rainfall at times where you can see some of the darker greens and yellow colors indicating some heavier rainfall rates. And it doesn't end there. Look at this. This really intensifies over New Jersey, downtown New York. If you're in Connecticut, if you're Massachusetts, we're talking about moderate to heavy rainfall, maybe some embedded thunderstorms with this, and where we see the warm front is where we see the transition into some really heavy snowfall. Speaking of that, the snow starts coming down again late tonight, and it goes through much of the day tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow is going to be a stormy day. But it doesn't end there. By tomorrow night, which is Saturday, so right around, say, 11 or 12 o'clock, in the nighttime hours, we can see these dark blue colors, these pink colors, indicating snowfall rates locally exceeding 2 to 3 inches an hour, where we have the red colors here indicates where we have the freezing rain and sleet to contend with. And yeah, there is a very intense narrow frontal heavy rain line where we might see some thunderstorms with that too. The snowfall totals on this storm system are very impressive. Take a look at this. This is from, again, the HRRR model. So if you're in Buffalo, New York, still looking at about 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. If you're in, say, portions there of Watertown, New York, I'm expecting for you all to get about 6 to maybe 10 inches of snowfall with this winter storm. But if you're in like Albany, kind of the central New York area, you could get anywhere between 5 to 10 inches of snowfall. And if you're in, say, eastern New York State, maybe as much as 10 to 15. And then when you get over here in Vermont and New Hampshire, you could see 1 to 2 feet of snowfall. And I'm not kidding when I say 1 to 2 feet of snowfall. That's based on the latest HRRR model that indicates that there's going to be a huge swath here that gets anywhere between 1 to potentially 2 feet of snow. It's not just the snowfall that you're going to have to worry about. Some areas will also have to worry about some accumulating sleet and ice over the region. So for central New York, you might get anywhere between 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice. Now, these numbers are a little aggressive, so that's why I'm being a little generous here. But for the southern Maine coast here, as well as Vermont and New Hampshire, you could see as much as a 1/4 of an inch to maybe even 1/2 an inch of ice, which is more than enough to bring down trees, power lines, utility poles can come down because of the weight of the ice, really causing these assets to come down, including for some buildings, some weakened structures. We could see some roof cave-ins as well because of so much ice that just is putting a lot of weight on roofs. And that's the concern here that we could be looking at. But also another concern will be how much rainfall you could see out of this system. Take a look at the rainfall totals in downtown New York as well as much of New Jersey. You could see as much as 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, specifically here on the HRRR, the 18Z run. This is indicating maybe as much as 6 inches of rain, as well as Long Island, maybe 2 to 4 inches. If you're in Massachusetts, Connecticut, where you're not going to see any snow, you're likely to see just rain. You might see anywhere between about 2 to 4 inches. And just for curiosity, the European model and the NAM are not as aggressive with the rainfall totals, but still in all, indicating anywhere between maybe 2 to 3 inches across the extreme Northeast like Vermont, New Hampshire, not Vermont, New Hampshire, but that's because it's going to be snowing up there. But if you're in Connecticut, if you're on the downtown New York area, you're likely to get 3 inches. Therefore, the Weather Prediction Center has issued a slight risk for heavy rainfall and flood concerns across Maryland, northern and northeastern Virginia, if you're in Delaware, New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New York, if you're on Long Island, City Island, if you're on Massachusetts, Rhode Island, as well as Connecticut, you're under a slight risk, including for southeastern New Hampshire, as well as southern tip there of Maine, under a slight risk for heavy rainfall. But on the snowy side of things, there is a moderate to major impact issued for central Maine, northern Vermont, New Hampshire, some of the mountains there, as well as northeastern portion there of New York State, due to the heavy snowfall, blowing snow, some icy conditions that could lead to power outages. Now, another thing to take note of is the winds are going to be fairly strong with this winter storm because the pressure gradient is going to get tighter. So here's a look at the HRRR, and we can see those winds picking up by Saturday night on this model, all the way into Sunday morning. And look at these wind gusts between 40 to 50 miles an hour across New Jersey, portions of Pennsylvania, and then eventually across the rest of the Northeast by Sunday morning, with wind gusts between 35 to 40 miles an hour. So now, with that being said, it's a good idea that we briefly talk about the Midwest storm system, because this one has a lot of potential to cause a lot of problems. Talking blizzards, we're talking damaging winds, big time severe weather over Oklahoma, northern Texas, as well as southern Kansas. As you all can see here, by Sunday afternoon into the evening hours, very strong surface flow here, probably one of the strongest in a few years, over Colorado, over Kansas at 980 millibars. Very heavy snowfall to the north. We can see some thunder snow potentially with this one. And then across the deep south and including for, say, Oklahoma, we get some severe weather. And look at some of these storms here, this cold front and this dry line that sets up. Actually, this is the dry line going to trigger the severe weather for Sunday night into Monday. Possible tornadoes, large hailstones, big winds as well. By Monday, this goes into the deep south with some very heavy rainfall, with very heavy snowfall still going on across Minnesota, the Dakotas, as well as Nebraska. And this is why the Storm Prediction Center still maintains a slight risk of severe weather across Oklahoma and Kansas. And even by Tuesday, it is still across the upper Midwest and the deep south here. Heavy rainfall and some severe weather could continue all the way into Tuesday and even into Wednesday, perhaps, if this serves purpose. And that's exactly why the Storm Prediction Center on day 4 has issued a slight risk for Texas, for Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Now, when looking at the latest snowfall totals on the GFS model, this is pretty alarming when you think about it. For a Midwest storm system, we're talking anywhere between 12 to 24 inches in many areas. That's roughly about 1 to 2 feet of snowfall across portions of Nebraska, the Dakotas, as well as southwestern Minnesota, where you can get locally 32 inches of heavy snow. Wow, even Wisconsin, 25 inches there. So therefore, winter storm watches are already issued, and they're already considering to issuing blizzard warnings with this upcoming storm. So now, when we take a look at the 500 millibar jet stream forecast on the GFS, we can clearly see why this weather pattern is going to be straight up out of control. And it's all because we have a very nasty dynamic trough-like system over the Four Corners, over the Intermountain West, and this is going to eject a few shortwave troughs into the Midwest, bringing that severe weather threat. Look at this. Over Oklahoma, over Kansas, 104 knot flow, guys. This is very, very significant. And then look at this. Going further into Tuesday, there is it right there. See this little nub in southern Texas? That's going to be the one that gets another surface low spinning up over here in the deep south. Now, before I do end the video, I do have 5 important announcements to share with you all. As always, I've been mentioning this in my past few videos. I am going to be hosting a total solar eclipse live stream on Monday, April the 8th, 2024. It begins in my location at Kerrville, Texas at 12:15 p.m. We're going to be making the drive to Kerrville, Texas on April the 3rd. It's going to be a very exciting event. And not only that, I will be doing a Q&A live stream on April the 2nd about what my plans are for this solar eclipse. So I highly recommend you all joining that stream so that way your questions can be answered if you have any. And then, of course, my first Atlantic Hurricane Seasonal Outlook will be released on April the 15th. So on Monday, April the 15th, is when it will come out. And then my first routine tropical weather outlook will begin on May 25th, and it will run through November the 1st. But as always, you could also follow me here on Discord at Weather Force Today. There will be a link in the description below this video, along to go with my Twitter page as well, and other social medias. You saw them throughout the video today. They were on the right side. So if you all want to check that out, please consider doing so. But anyways, if you did enjoy today's detailed weather forecast, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with their family and friends on social media. As always, have a great rest of your Friday. I will be back in the home weather office tomorrow with another detailed weather update on these two monster storms.